Thank you so much for taking the time to talk to us today about all the really good work that you're doing within WNS in the area of learning. Learning is important in any organization. But can you tell us a little bit about why it's so critical for WNS?
Yeah, first, Sankalp, thank you. I didn't know that you guys had such a paraphernalia. I would have come to your office to get this done. Pleasure speaking with you. Look, we are a people organization, right? And if you understand, if you tracked our industry, we've had, pretty tectonic shifts in the way our target operating model or the business model had to evolve to keep in pace with the need that was mostly generated because of there was a disruption, there was an innovation, or there was a repurposing that was happening in the market, right? Phase one, it was more like a lift and shift kind of a business, right? Yeah. Then we had the earlier transition of the first probable disruption came in the form of Y2K. I'm going 24 years back, right? And look, there were oceans of people who got trained for Y2K, right, to keep the organization, just a head above water, right? Next, the second wave was the transition from, an industry which was more like, on basic premise of hear and talk and see and type to transitioning into more value-based kind of an ecosystem, right? So you suddenly needed resources that were good in quantitative, quants. You needed resources that were very practice-led, like finance and accounting. You needed a resource that came from like a functional orientation, like supply chain, right? And always this business model was built on transitioning, technically, very simply put, a resource who probably had 30 man years of experience into somebody, right, who probably did not have or probably had at max 1/3 of that work experience, right? So the only enabling factor or the differentiator to effect the step change was training, right? So it's a very integral part of the business model that we believe that we understand a customer process, we understand what are these various tectonic shifts, and we believe that people have an ability to upgrade and upskill and learn. Look, all of us, some who started with school and finished school and did college and did something, and came and sitting wherever we are sitting, and we believe that everybody should go through that opportunity. So learning is super critical, right? I think for any organization,
of course,
right? Imagine an organization which is trying to say that every shift in the market, every shift in demand, that I'm going to create new talent, right? That economic viability is not possible, right? So you have a talent who knows the way of work, who knows how to service a client, who is interested in operating for, let's say, 8 hours in a day, 6 hours in a day, and your ability to give input to that talent and do a step change, right? And we'll talk further about, the methodology we use to enable this far more effectively than others.
Right.
But our entire baseline organization is on a premise that we can train and enable our people to be productive. That's the baseline, first order derivative of this organization or this business model. Right. So hence, very cliched, it's the spine, right? It's the spine that holds the body straight, right? So it's not even critical, it is essential, right, for us to exist. So that's how I would define, training as an ecosystem or learning as an ecosystem.
Wonderful. I think the line that really stayed with me is, we believe that everybody can learn and become more productive and better at what they do, right? That's
the industry premise. That's how this industry got built, right?
Fantastic.
Way back when all the Doyens built it also was on that premise.
Lovely. And in light of this, right, what are some of the unique things that you're doing when it comes to learning within WNS?
Yeah, something very, very unique as an organization for us, right? Look, as an organization, we probably, there are organizations that are commercially indulgent and there are organizations that are creatively indulgent, right? We probably, because of the way this leadership team is constructed or the way we think is, we probably are on the, on the extreme left side of creatively indulgent, right? Now, typically, what is our right to win? Let me start. What's our right to win in the market? Right? Our right to win is not on scale. Our right to win because we understand our customer domain as much as they understand. So we are a very domain-led, digital business process management or business process transformation organization, right? Now, technically, that comes, really with an anchor point, that we are domain, right? Now, this domain is not broadly, universally, a retail works as retail everywhere in the world, but there's a certain nuance of how retail operates in North America versus retail operates in, the Europe and, Africa, and the retail operates in APAC, right? Now you have to nuance the retail, right? An airline is a very different breed altogether, right? A revenue accounting in an airline is very different to an accounting for any other thing. It's a revenue function, right? So revenue accounting in airline is very different, right? Now when you interpose domain and functional discipline, right? You really need to, not train people. You really need to embellish on a methodology that will educate people. So first of the cases, we have built a very strong domain university that is rich because of our knowledge on the job and our knowledge on customer domain ecosystem, where basically I can say that, we have one of our airline customers operating just above us. So my favorite statement is, you pick anybody and throw them there, they'll talk airlines, right? That's the level of, domain depth we built in that DNA, right? Now, the structures and framework were there earlier, but right now it's in DNA. When you say DNA, you don't need structures and framework. It gets embellished just because you are cohabiting that ecosystem.
That's right.
Phase 2, look, we've been, subjected to a lot of innovation in the marketplace. Let's say RPA was an innovation, right? Digital transformation was an innovation that simply disrupted the market, the way the business model operates, right? Suddenly we were a business process management. We are now becoming a tech-led business process transformation firm. Fundamentally very different, right? So if you look at a very, I'll go a bit detailed about it, right? Imagine you go knock your car. Earlier world you will call somebody. That person will respond and say, hey, Sankalp, you have this claims policy. Your car got knocked. This policy allows you to do X, Y, Z.
Sure.
Right? And then it moves. That's basically on the earlier side of the world in BPM. We'll staff it with somebody who has voice call.
Correct.
That's called hear and talk.
That's right.
Right? And then it goes to repairs. Then somebody is engaging with your repair and maintenance, figuring out, is this work done, not done, how it is done, right? Then basically, and then he processes your claim. That's nothing but see and type, right? And then you get the claim done, and then if you do 3-4 claims in a year, you're profiled differently, and you're underwritten differently.
So your premium goes up.
Right? Now, technically, in the older world, all these were separate jobs.
Interesting.
Right? And the labor market provided talent for this. Suddenly, in the new world, when the upstream got integrated, imagine a drone is coming and taking your accident photo and giving images that the claim gets automatically processed, right? You suddenly need one talent who should be able to program manage everything.
Correct.
Right? Suddenly the competency completely shifted.
Correct.
The manager earlier had to project manage. The manager in the new world has to program manage. Completely different skills. Right? Now the second part, that's where we said we created what we call as learning academy. So learning focuses only on potential. It doesn't focus on performance. So here we segmented, our training focuses on performance and productivity. Our learning focuses on potential. That is enabling multiple performance. So again, we created learning academy focusing on potential.
Yes.
And training is focusing on performance.
Okay.
Right? Now overlay a complexity on top of it, right? Like RPA, right? Digital, tech, right? Now, technically you cannot train somebody on math.
That's right.
You can't train somebody on robotic process automation. You have to educate them.
Correct.
Right? So around 6 years back, we created what is called as WNS education. Right? The premise of education is taken from our beautiful schools, great design, right? Independent delivery ecosystem, leveraging academics to come in, right? So that the knowledge is layered and tested.
Interesting.
Right? So here we are building a skill. Right? It's like teaching somebody to be a salon artist. Right? You cannot do that with training.
Correct.
Right? You have to do that with education. You need to understand what are the equipments, what are the various things. Right? So these are like 800 hours program, 1000 hours program, 2000 hours program, almost running very methodical like a curriculum. So we just celebrated 6 years of WNS education. So it has an education council, it has a governance council, it has an academic council, right? We have academic partners, right?
Fantastic.
And they come in and we deliberately layer knowledge in the form of a classroom through academic rigor, because that's where you are able to teach and educate somebody. It's like almost teaching somebody algebra, right? Now, the entire ecosystem is split now in training, learning academy for potential, and education for skill upgrade.
Fantastic.
Right? Now, that and then augmented at the baseline, if you can imagine a diagram, with my domain university and process excellence university. Right? Now, in this remit, this is my governance structure that you come to me, right? And we want to give you the gift of being relevant. That's our statement to our employees.
Interesting.
Right? We say we give you the gift of being relevant. Right? So even with this new wave, when generative AI came, right, a whole lot of rhetoric, right? We had almost all 65,000 people go through at least one program. So we classified. What is generative AI for practitioners? Right? That means people are going to use Gen AI in their operating mode. Right? What is Gen AI for people who are going to create Gen AI solution?
Interesting.
Right? What is Gen AI for leaders? What is Gen AI for managers? Right? What is Gen AI for managers of managers and managers of leaders? Right? And what is Gen AI for customer? Because we also need to educate customers and bring them on path. Right? So the education framework for us is like our, it's like our samurai sword. Right? Because once we've enabled and understood that any problem that comes, we say that, hey, let's start with education. Right? So let's put a course curriculum. Let's get our partners. Let's sit down and create a course curriculum. Right? So these programs are then very well accepted by people, because it is almost a knowledge that they gain. Look, typically in the learning world, what did we use 20 years back? That we wanted a big institution certificate.
Correct.
Right? You will embellish a leadership program with the big 4 universities, so that it lends credence. Right? But all of us went to normal schools and had one certificate, which is state board or central board, and it worked. Right? Because the content and the design were very strong. Right? So if you go speak to any of our employees, they are very, very happy for the fact that they know there is a knowledge upgrade, because when they go meet with their peers outside our industry, probably they are trying for jobs, they go for interview, right? Their ability of uptick they are able to get, right? Because their demonstrated knowledge, what they've inbuilt in our journey with us, right? And then again, we departed from this traditional role of 70, 20, 10, right? We always said 70% on the job,
right?
20% and 10% coaching. Here we shifted it not very much, but probably we think whenever there is a tectonic shift on the skill, we probably make it 60% education.
So just shifting the focus,
right? Because that is not being applied on the job. It's a tectonic shift. I can't tell that you go learn in a job, right? So I think that is extremely unique for
and you
us.
need that foundational core for some of these tectonic shifts.
And these are not training programs. You should understand the curriculum. These are all big books, right, with chapters. You have a teacher who comes and runs class every day. Probably at the end of 2 weeks there is a test, right? And then there is a knowledge evaluation, right? So basically when the person comes out, he or she should be independent to operate in the new environment, right? So I think that, if you ask us, it's not that we were genius enough to do it. We created it very organically, but I think it's very useful from our employee perspective. That's unique.
No, that's fantastic. I love the tiered model that you've taken, right? Productivity, training for now, potential, and then the education piece, and then of course layered by the.
And then
the
you
domain.
shift gears basis need.
So it's almost like you're taking care of the present,
right?
The near future,
right?
But also perhaps the slightly more distant future, right? I mean, it's a little bit.
We believe in it. Hopefully, if you say so, we'll trust it more.
Fantastic. No, that's very interesting.